So why don't we move into this next one? So this is a Reddit post, similar thread, I guess, in terms of bad financial decisions. So this person wrote, I don't care about my credit score. Can I just not pay it? I owe about $25,000 in credit card debt, mainly due to losing my job during COVID. 5 years later, and I haven't financially recovered. I never want to buy a house. I don't have kids, and my current income barely covers my living expenses. What happens if I just never pay off my debt? What's the worst that can really happen? Will I go to jail, or will I just live with a bad credit score and won't be able to finance things? Honestly, it seems like a good deal to just ignore it and finally be able to breathe. Now, I thought the interesting part is that there was two replies that really stood out to me. The first person was like, I know someone who basically waited out $150,000 of credit card debt. He essentially hid in his parents' basement for 5 years. He's doing well now, owns a house, has kids, but visiting him during those 5 years was depressing AF. But then the next person responded to them saying, I had a similar amount of debt by the time I was 22, and my plan was also to wait it out. About 6 months after getting a new job and a new place to live, I had process servers dropping off lawsuits at my door, and the resulting wage garnishment took nearly all of my income. I ended up filing for bankruptcy. So I don't know, you can kind of see both ends of the spectrum of is this a good idea or not?
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be different for every single person because it's probably going to depend on what type of like debt this is and like,
Mm,
who you owe. I don't know. For me, it's just like I can't stand people that like don't take responsibility for their actions or or the accountability to like actually clean it up. Like,
yeah.
why do you think that you should just be able to just take out money, spend it, and then not pay it back? I don't know. There's something wrong there morally for me. Like that just like messes with my moral compass. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that, and you're probably not going to sleep at night either because like that person said, there's going to be people knocking on your door looking for their
Yeah.
money. And if they're not knocking on the door, they're calling you, they're emailing you, they are calling your mother. You know what I mean? Like they are going to try to get through to you. So I don't know. This is not a good approach to this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it probably is going to depend on the type of debt, and then more importantly, probably the amount as well.
Yeah.
Like the other person who said $150,000, I'm like, that's an insane amount to think you can just get away with it.
Yeah.
$25,000, I would still say is a pretty fair amount. Where why wouldn't they just try to garnish your wages? You know, like
Yeah.
if a debt collector buys that debt and then they pursue you legally, like they're probably still going to come out ahead. It just to me, yeah, like you said, the morally, I think it's wrong, but like just the level of entitlement that someone has to think that like, hey, I'm gonna just do this. It's like you put yourself in this situation. Now you gotta like work. You gotta what is that? Pedal to the metal. You know, like you gotta just work to pay this off, and then put yourself ahead. 5 years down the road, right? Like, but if you just sit here and think, well, I can just ignore it. Like, no problem is ever gonna go away if you just ignore it.
Yeah. And that situation, the one reply that said that they had 150,000 of credit card debt and they just like lived in their parents' basement for 5 years. I feel like this also is going to affect you much longer than 5 years. So you
Yeah,
might like, the person's maybe is doing well now, but they didn't own a house 5 years after that's all done. I can tell you that right now.
yeah,
Their credit score is probably what's the lowest credit score you can get? Like, I don't know. Definitely in like what the 500s or something
yeah.
like that. I don't know how low it can actually go, but it has to be pretty low at that point. And then it's like, great, you're saying this all now. I never want to buy a house. I don't want to have kids, but like your life changes. Like I'm drastically different than who I was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
stop living like, I don't care that I'm wrecking my entire financial, history for the entire rest of my life. Like you're probably not that old. So I don't know. I think we need to stop thinking like that and just like maybe just do the right thing. And maybe someday your life will change.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That I never want to buy a house and I don't want to have kids. Like, what if you like meet the person of your dreams, and all of a sudden they find out that you have this kind of history with your finances, and they're like, well, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sit right with me. And then also, what other decisions are you willing to make under the assumption, well, if I don't get caught, then it's really not that bad. Like that tells people something about what you're willing to do if the consequences aren't right in front of you, I guess.
Yeah, and they also said like my current income barely covers my living expenses. Like, okay, great, but like, do you not want something like more for your life? I don't know.
Mm.
They just seem like I never want to buy a house. I don't have kids. My expenses barely cover. Whatever. It's like I don't know. You have to want a little bit more for your life, and I think getting there by scamming the system and not paying your credit card debt
Yeah.
off is probably not the way you're going to get there.
Yeah, and if you want something better for your life, like if you want to increase your income and be able to afford nice things or whatever, going through this process of how do I increase my income a little bit so I can start paying off debt? And then how can I be really diligent with my budgeting? And then how can I, push that forward into my saving and then my investing? Like, that's how you're going to get there. I think a lot of people look at debt and like, oh, what's the quickest way to get out of it? And yeah, I do think you should try to get out of debt, especially credit card debt, as quickly as possible. But like straight through it is often going to be better for your long-term success than trying to find your way around it. Like if you can strive and fight through getting out of debt by budgeting diligently and finding ways to increase your income and lower your expenses, like you're going to be a stronger person on the other end who can do all these amazing things because they have a handle on their finances.
Yeah. And of course this sucks. Like paying off credit card debt, paying off any debt is not fun. Like it's not.
Yeah.
No one likes to pay off debt, right? It's not the best thing to be doing with your money. But you also so it's going to take time, right? Like that's the suckiest part about it, is it's going to take some time and it takes effort and discipline. But you also didn't get into $25,000 of credit card debt overnight. So like, you know what I mean? You're going to have to work a little bit here and have some patience with the process, So I don't know, this person's just being super unrealistic and not my type of person, because I would tell them exactly what to do. It would be to, hold yourself accountable, take responsibility for your actions, and pay this off.
I guess in another life, could I get into $25,000 of debt overnight? I probably could. Like that, that'd be a good night. But
right. The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.